I'm fine.
I know why you're fine.
Oh, you had the MD of water company.
Yes.
What did he say? That
Galamsey.
he realizes that
in the morning.
That so you see, they work overnight.
That's the point you've been making.
Yes. Because of the effort of the security agency in clamping on them down. Right now, if you go to a typical Galamsey community, nothing is happening. They're just going about their business, etc. Typically around 11 a.m., then they start.
11 p.m.
Yeah, sorry, 11 p.m. 12 midnight. By 4 they are out.
Okay. So, but that then clearly tells you and the security agencies when to operate.
Yeah. So then they've also changed their tactics. Yes.
Okay.
To deal with that.
All right. So we're going to continue with the challenges as far as the local content policy is concerned. But a few days ago, I think it was on Monday, the Bank of Ghana released the figures. And for purposes of this program, it has to do with Ghana's total exports as at December 2023. Now, according to the Bank of Ghana, cocoa raked in $2.1 billion, which constitutes 13% of our total export proceeds. Oil or crude at $3.8 billion. That constitutes 23% of our export earnings. And gold, 7.6 billion. That's 46%. So our total export earnings December 2023 was $16.6 billion. $16.6 billion. And gold gave us $7.6 billion. That constitutes 46%. So gold has stripped both crude oil, 3.8 billion, and cocoa, 2.1 billion. If you put cocoa and oil together, that gives you about 5.9 billion, which constitutes about 36% of our total export earnings. And gold alone is 46%, $7.6 billion out of the $16.6 billion dollars. Beyond the fact that gold is the biggest earner, what does this data tell us? What more does it tell us?
Randy, three things. Let me say that I don't know whether you've been following the price of cocoa on the world market.
No.
It's over 4,000 or so.
A ton?
Yes.
You've reached 4,000?
Yeah, I think 4,000. I've been seeing that, over that. Record high.
Our production volumes have dropped.
Is it 600 or
we've dropped.
Less? So it tells you that if we have sustained the 1 million.
Yes. Maybe about 4 billion
perhaps
plus.
We could have done anything just around the crude oil value.
Yes, about that.
Oh, yeah. But Randy...
And they blame Galamsey partly for that.
Oh, they blame Galamsey, yes, to a large extent. But maybe give me 2 minutes before we circle back to the figures.
Right.
People are also ignoring the fact that even if you are blaming Galamsey, cocoa farming is no longer attractive to certain people. People are ignoring that. I'll be the first to admit, because I've had several engagements with the CEO of Cocoa, but we talk about this a lot. So yes, I agree that yes, the devastation, because you see, I said in this studio that practically wherever there is cocoa, gold is taking place. So I can understand that, I get that. He's right. If they say, look, Galamsey is part of the problem, I agree. But then during the national dialogue, I think 2 or so years ago, a chief woke up, I was there, in Ashanti region and said, we don't do Galamsey in my area here. Yet cocoa is no longer attractive to folks in the community. People got up, they were clapping. And then it set me thinking. So 2 things. Then they asked him why. He said, now people are cutting the cocoa for seasonal crops, doing maize and other stuff. even people are doing coconut and all those things. So it tells you that beyond the issue of galamsey, there is also the issue of, making it right for people to be able to do it. You understand what I'm getting? So why would people cut their cocoa and plant other crops in a community where mining is not taking place? How do you explain that? And it's not just one-off in a year. So there's more to. But I'll be the first to admit that galamsey is also a factor. And then another question, apart from people marauding and then devastating cocoa farms. Okay, look at the major producing areas, Enchi and all those places. Let me ask you this question. Why will your grandfather sell his cocoa farm? Did you see that video? Why will your grandfather sell his cocoa farm? So here somebody will say, oh, maybe a whole year I do $3. This is what I get. And then somebody comes to you and say, oh, Openiji, we good way. You acquire papers. And now they are next week. Then suddenly, a poor illiterate farmer is being given money that he will see in maybe 10 years. And then we say, wow, and they do that. Okay, so he's beginning to see money that perhaps in his lifetime he has not seen. Or he will have seen that in 20 years. Or if he's fortunate, his children. You understand that kind of thing? And then it's just been given to him. He's 70-something years. And look at the situation. So it's just a multiplicity of factors that is leading to the cocoa situation. So when you even, let's say, deal with the galamsey situation, you may, what about those who are not doing it and say, now I'm going to plant some other crops?
Yeah.
So it's beyond what we are talking about. So let's get back to this. Randy, it is just a confirmation or a testimony to the fact that mining is our DNA. Last year, we did around a little over 6-something billion. So maybe 1 billion more. This is 7.6, and this is gold. They didn't mention the other minerals. Bauxite, manganese, and coal. Look at cocoa, 2.1, crude oil, 3.8. You add the two, that's about 4.9. And then the percentage-wise gives you about 36%. Still 10% short of gold. What maybe they didn't add, but they give you the entire figure, is that small scale did about 1.1 million ounces. So the receipt from small scale is the same as cocoa. So you put aside large scale. Small scale alone can take care of cocoa.
So small scale, you're saying that small scale
the
made
7.6 billion you have there is the entire production of gold. And that includes what is coming from small scale mining, both legal and illegal. That's a fact. And also, because you see, those that are produced illegally, they go through the official tunnel before they are exported. Some also are, smuggled. These are facts, so I will not belabor it. And roughly about a third or 30% of the gold production of Ghana comes from small scale. If 1.1 million ounces is anything to go by, this year they are projecting anything between 1.3 and 1.5. 1.1, an average price of 1,900, even if I use 1,800, it's more than 2 billion or 2.1 billion for cocoa. Okay, so it tells you that if we tackle everything that is wrong with small-scale mining, it can basically solve the unemployment in the nearly 13 regions where this activity is taking place. That is a message. Okay, that is a message I want you to understand. So that is it. And then, if 7.6 billion is the total receipts, okay, you take out maybe 2 billion for small scale, you are left with 5.6 billion. A third of that goes into the discussion we've been having for the past 2-3 weeks, local content.
Why will you exclude small scale?
Oh, because small scale, they don't file local content.
So they are excluded.
Yeah, they are excluded because it's supposedly, by law, it's supposed to be done by Ghanaians. But
if you have a situation where
maybe we have to start looking at
because if you have a situation where the objective, the rationale behind, you are a lawyer, so the spirit behind the local content thing if you have small scale constituting between
third.
20 to 30%
Of the
of your receipts, and then you do not have local content in there, we could be shooting ourselves in the foot.
So two things. What we are now planning to do now is to really look at the local content aspect of small scale. So practically many of the fuel stations you find in the mining corridor, it is because of small scale. Mm-hmm. They are owned by small scale miners.
They own the filling stations.
Yes, many of them, or persons that are linked to that. And then I remember doing the ban. You meet people at Swami and they are complaining that now the work they've been doing, have come down. Why? Because they don't get to service machines. Do you understand? Because the machines are sent there for servicing. I mean, Kumasi, you don't have these things taking place in Accra. So it's very easy to move the machines to Kumasi for servicing, Swami. And then those artisanal workshops in areas like Takwa, Dunkwa, and all those things. So you will see somebody who has a shop. He's not a small-scale miner. He spends, and he has about 10 for maybe 7 workers. Even they take more. All he does under his shop is to be servicing the machines that are used by small-scale miners. Mm-hmm. So when we say we have about 3 million people depending on small-scale livelihood, that is a typical example I'm giving. So the gentleman who is providing repairs of all these machines in Takwa, in Bibian, and Dunkwa, and all those things, the moment the small-scale thing is disturbed, he also disturbs his job. He will tell you that you have collapsed his business. So that is that. So maybe very soon we will need to do a study to look at the local content dimension of small scale.
Yeah.
How small scale is impact. We know the livelihoods, those who live on it. Okay, those who sell the food.
Because this small scale is raking about 2 billion.
Yes.
Then the supplies, goods and services alone can be about maybe 500, 600
We've
million.
not done that yet, but I've asked that they should give us a plan for us to start raking in that. So I think that is it. And then again, about 15% of the production, and that's about 432,358 ounces of gold. The domestic gold purchase program. So that means about 15% of the large-scale people sold. I mean, they sold gold worth about 15% to this Bank of Ghana thing. So you see our reserves going up. I think it's around 19 tons now. That's a lot of gold. So that is it. Again, maybe one more thing. So Randy, if you have $7.6 billion being the receipts last year, you take out small scale, 2 billion. So you're talking about 5.6 billion. And then you have a provision in local content, the subject matter that we've been discussing for a while now. We are saying that 60% of your receipts should run through the local banks. And then 60% of your insurance, because by law, all the mining, every asset at the mining site, including the workers, are supposed to be insured. So calculate 60% of 5.6 billion. That money is supposed to run through, let's say, Agricultural Development Bank, NIB, Car Bank. I mean, the Bank of Ghana.
That's about 3 billion.
Yes. So they have money to work with. So you see, these are some of the deliberate things we need to do. That, of course, we are doing to ensure that these things benefit us. Because of course, the other 40%, you can take it to EcoBank, ABSA. I don't know whether we still have Standard Chartered or any of these Nigerian banks. But at least, let's preserve 60% for Ghana Commercial Bank, Agricultural Development Bank, and co. That's how we grow our economy. You see, you cannot have Ghana Commercial Bank here, Agricultural Development Bank here, and then you want them to collapse. This as state institution. You and I are shareholders, and then we sit here. $3 billion is being given to EcoBank, ABSA, and all these foreign companies to go through. So yesterday was a deadline for them to submit their plans. I've seen them. A lot of them have submitted. A few have asked for a week or so extension to do so, and it's quite interesting.
How many companies are involved in large scale in Ghana?
In the case of Ghana, we don't distinguish between large scale and when we say large scale, it includes what we would describe as medium.
Yes.
We can have anything between 16 and 20 or more.
So how many companies do you deal with when it comes to local content? How many companies are on your radar?
We
Licensed
started with about 8. Now we are doing around 13. We're going to increase it to around 16.
Okay.
The new ones that are coming. So Cardinal, that will start this year, will definitely file a report for 2024. Our new one to now file another report to include their third mine and co. So the numbers are growing.
A small diversion, but then we'll come back to this.
Okay.
In one of our previous discussions, I believe early last year, the issue of a medium scale category came up.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, you were indifferent.
No, I was not different. I was not indifferent. I'm all for a medium scale. That is, and a lot of African countries have it, particularly the East African countries where I stayed and worked for like 5 years. So small scale, medium scale, and then large scale. And there were 2 schools of thought. Let's open it up so that people can bring in foreign capital. You understand that? And then...
but for the benefit of our audience, we have large scale, small scale.
Small scale is Ghanaian.
How will we describe medium scale?
So,
and who will be the players there? Okay. What will be the difference between large scale and medium scale, or small scale and medium scale?
So for now, under Ghana's law, you're either small scale or large scale. But maybe for the purposes of our job, if you have the likes of Newmont doing, let's say, close to 600,000 ounces in a half hour alone, and you have like Accra Gold, Kibi Gold, okay, Narawa, doing anything between 5 and 20,000 ounces a year. They are medium for the purposes of our job. But in law, under Ghana's law, Narawa is large scale, Kibi Gold is large scale, Newmont is large scale. But you're talking about maybe 20,000 ounces a whole year or 30,000 a whole year. Whilst the likes of Newmont, 2 operations, like 1 million ounces. Takwa, a little over 500,000. Asanko, a little over 200. So we use the terminology medium and large scale based on production size and then maybe the size of the operation.
And could there also be some who are small scale but have demonstrated capacity?
Yes. So for example, a lot of the small scale mines in the north are underground. So you go to a place like Dakrupe, Savannah, where my minister comes from. They've now hit the water table.
Which is what?
They go underground. For now, the deepest mine is about 1 kilometer. That's Obuasi. Wasa will do twice that when they finish their expansion. So some of the small scale can even go 100 meters. Okay? But up to about 300, 200, they can no longer. You understand? Even beyond some depth, the gold is there. So you realize that the nature of the ore body, that's by way of location, and the kind of technology and health and safety concerns, that can no longer be a small-scale operation. So you have a few of them now applying to say that we want to bring in other partners so that we deploy modern technology and sink more money. And then, so clearly, that operation can no longer remain small-scale because the only thing is that they were abandoning it. And when they abandon, somebody will apply it to operate it as a large scale. So when we are introducing medium scale, some of the things we'll do is that we can look at the depth of the ore body or the nature of the ore body. That's one. And then you can also have a group of small scale miners who will come together and say, look, I'm here, Randy is here, Ayisi is here, John is here, Kwame is here. It's all contiguous. Looking at the nature of the ore body and then the geology, we've all come together so that the 25 acres, which is about 10 now, we want to now convert it into a medium scale mine. So they will become shareholders. Sometimes somebody will approach you and say, I want to buy all of you out and convert it into a large scale. So we can use the nature of the ore body or a group of small scale coming together where it is contiguous. Sometimes you can also use the level of mechanization. We have a lot of small scale mining companies now they cannot operate at a small scale. Even the chief inspector of mines will not allow you because they've gotten to a point where there are safety issues now. They could die. Ventilation is a problem. It requires more money now because underground is expensive. So all these criteria are there already. But when we went for the stakeholder, the small scale people tell us that they only support a medium scale provided we don't open it up for foreigners.
Okay.
That we should rather put in measures where a Ghanaian can
upgrade.
Hey, now MIF is there. So a few of them have approached MIF and said, look, we want to develop this into something bigger than small scale. Help us. And the discussions are interesting. They are willing to support. So the question they keep asking me is that, why are you going to allow the Chinese or somebody who come from Canada or Europe to bring his money and take? Because when we even said, where we introduce a medium scale, the Ghanaian will still keep 60% minimum. Then the other 40% could be a foreigner who may have money. Then he'll bring his $10 or $20 million to come and sink the shaft or introduce those new level of mechanization. The small scale people opposed it. They say government rather should create an environment for them where they can also access money and do it themselves. And I think that's my position. I will not support opening medium scale to foreign participation.
So you support,
because there are Ghanaians who are now owning large scale mines.
So you support the creation of
a medium scale. That's not the argument.
However, you believe that it should be an opportunity for Ghanaians who've demonstrated a capacity or who can demonstrate a capacity with the support of either MIF or the financial institutions to rather be given the opportunity to grow.
Yes, but if you ask me as a policy, as government, we should make it a deliberate effort to grow our own. Other than that, you see, this old age century criticism that we are not betting for our minerals, this is also another window for it. Because you see, some small scale guys, some small scale guys who are running underground, they've gotten a place where technology is required. Maybe there are 4 or 5 contiguous blocks. You come and give them $1 million. That's a lot of money for them.
Yeah.
He will just go on retirement. Okay? They will just share. He will take it. Now a small scale miner, he takes $1 million. He can come and buy a flight in Cantonment. Okay? And then they give them about $3-4 million. They just vacate the place. They may be 60% shareholders. The Chinese or the Canadian will just bring his equipment, everything, do it. So my question is, I will not support opening up medium scale to foreign participation.
So there must be medium scale, but it must be restricted.
The argument for medium scale is settled.
Okay.
But then we should rather create an environment for Ghanaians to raise money to do it. So we're looking, for example, can't we create an opportunity for them to raise money on the stock exchange? Can't MIF come in? And so they've written papers on all those things. And recently, they are even planning to support some small-scale groups. The ones that are very well organized, have very good deposits, etc. But why should you allow a foreign company to bring $20-15 million to come and develop something that can become $300-400 million worth, when you can just raise that money here? So it's also an area that MIF is getting into, where they are having discussion with some selected small-scale groups that have a lot of, good oil deposits to support them. But to open it up and bring the foreigners, no. Because, Ghana bauxite is now 100% state-owned. Do you understand that? Yes.
State-owned?
Yes. The state has 20%, the Ghanaian has 80%.
Okay.
So if we can own large-scale, corporations or mines, why would we want the people to come in? Okay? Because the foreigners will take over. You understand that? You go and give a Ghanaian some $1 million, that's a lot of money for him. When somebody will just bring some $10 million and develop something that will now become a $200 million dollar property. So the argument that we should have small scale, medium scale is settled. But if you ask me personally, unless maybe we go for the debate in Parliament and all those things, and then they say, no, open it up. Randy, there's something I keep saying, and let me repeat it. Last week I mentioned it. You should not be fixated or, so obsessed with shareholding. It means nothing. It means nothing.
It is the value of the
shareholding. It is a value. So again, Newmont is pumping nearly $1.5 billion. They will commission it next year, June. Okay? running. The bitter truth or the hard truth is that I don't see them paying any corporate tax on a half enough. I'm talking about half enough. Like maybe 5 years. Because that 1 billion is all capital allowances. They have to take that one out. You understand that? So you should rather be concerned about how much of the 1 billion can you preserve and protect for Ghanaian local supplies. That is the crux of the matter. So if they are not going to pay tax now, sometimes even 10 years, and then they are going to spend millions of dollars every year on supplies, on the procurement of goods and services too, you want that one to go to foreigners? So that is why we are so crazy about local content, and then we are making deliberate efforts to ensure that as much as possible, Ghanaians get into that space. So that is it. It's quite exciting, 7.6 billion. We are looking at roughly, by the end of the reconciliation, I mean, the receipts you can get them, about 4 million ounces last year. The projection this year is about 5 million. Worst case scenario, we'll do 4.5 million ounces. The month ended yesterday, right? Today is 1st February, am I right?
Yes.
Yes. The average price of gold for the entire January is about 22,030. The cost of producing an ounce in Ghana is anything between 1,300 and 1,500. So this January has been very great for them. So if we're able to do a minimum of 4.5, the target is 5 million, 4.5, and we'll do an average of 2 billion. And that's about it. So we are expecting anything at the current price, give and take, even if you do 1,900 or 1,950, we are expecting anything between maybe $9 to $10 billion end of this year, if the price should stay like that, as receipt from gold. So it means that you could be talking about perhaps 55-60% of your receipts in 2024, next year by this time coming from gold alone. Now, I have not talked about a half enough that will come on stream June next year. I have not mentioned Cardinal that will start pouring gold in November, but that will be just some small bit. The full year production will be 2025. So we are already heading to number 4, if not number 3. That's why I keep saying that 2025, 2026 will be exciting times in the mining industry in Ghana. Manganese will also start the construction of a refinery. You saw what has happened to bauxite. Last week, somebody has come in to do the refinery. And so very soon we'll start mining in the Ashanti area, Ninani, and then it will be followed with a refinery. So this is what I keep saying. In about maybe 2-3 years, we'll see a refinery. So the bauxite will now be mined and refined locally. In the same 2-3 years window, you will see a refinery being ready to refine manganese and turn them into manganese alloy. They will upgrade it. It's going to be good for the battery. And then you also see our lithium thing. So within a space of 2-3 years, you see lithium, you see manganese, you see bauxite being refined in Ghana. So that will address this century thing of things going out raw. So the policies are turning out good. They are looking very good. From 2025, 2026, particularly from 2026, you see a lot of value addition. So in about 4 or 5 years, at least a third to about half of our minerals will now be refined in Ghana. Then it will be benefiting this nation. We've not done this thing for a century. Ghana manganese, 1916. 1916. Okay? And then the other mines that have been there. Bauxite, 1940. So how many years now? That's about 83 years. Raw. Why? No conscious effort was made. Sometimes we blame policies in the past. Like throughout the 70s, the mines were state-owned, and we ran them down. That's like the GEOX, okay? The various GEOX Distillery, Ghana Airways, they were all caught up in that thing. So I don't think we should get the state involved in these kind of things again. So that is that on the plan, how things are looking out for the next 5 years. So remember our first meeting, 5 areas, local content, push hard on it. Because the 33%, the figure will go up. Okay, so very soon, close about 40% of the entire receipt will be spent on goods and services. So the more you create an environment where many of these things are done by Ghanaians, that means that the money is staying here. We've done very well from 8 to 50 now. So local content is one. I mean, the figures, clearly, within this nearly a year or so that we've been having this education, it's dawned on everybody now that small scale is everything. Okay? We just have to tackle the environmental and social challenges of what is happening in the 13 regions. 2 billion receipts, it will go up. Very soon we'll be doing about 3 billion in small scale. We got to deal with the use of mercury. Gold catcher, we need more. And then almighty, what I've been saying, geological investigation. We just approved about 1.5 million for geological survey to do more works in the Dunkwan area. So these are some of the things. So small scale, support for small scale, the entire small scale environment, local content, value addition. These are the 3 major areas. And also metal finance. Okay? Local content, small scale, and then value addition. I've just given out what is going to happen in the next 2-3 years. And also making sure that as much as possible, over time, we begin to raise a lot of the money to finance operations here. So the stock exchange thing. So what we are doing with MIF, and then what is in LI 2431. These are things we need to push. That's a local content law. Which says that they have to go to the stock exchange. We finish the framework now. Because Randy, this 1 billion, it is coming from outside though. It will go back. So can you imagine if we start raising 200, 300, 400 million here? It will, I mean, Asante raised about 180 million locally, dollars. Okay, some in equity, some, to get gold in return. But I'll tell you something before you ask me a few other questions. Randy, the total exports of Ghana at the end of 2023, as you have just highlighted in the Bank of Ghana, is roughly the same amount of money Newmont took and bought Newcrest of Australia.
About 80
You
billion.
listen carefully, I want to make a point. Newmont spent a little over $15 billion to go and acquire Newcrest of Australia. It's an Australian company. So they have become bigger. Even prior to that, they were the biggest producer of gold on earth. They still produce some lead, copper, and etc. But primarily it's a gold company. They've been around for like 100 years. 1925, they started trading on the New York Stock Exchange. But it was created in 1921. So you sit here, and then Bank of Ghana tells you that everything that left this country is 16.6 billion. Just around the same figure was just taken by Newmont to go and buy a company in Australia. And they have 3 operations here. You cannot just have an ordinary regulator. Your entire export as a nation is what a company operating 3 mines here, 2 now, but very soon 3, took, and within a space of 5 months, went and bought a company in Australia.
When is it took? You create the impression that they took the money from the operations.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say is that whatever we struggle with as a nation, we took us a year to get. That is the kind of money Newmont raised. Newmont Corporation headquarters in America, and they have branches all over. And then they have operations in Africa, Australia, North America. They are in Canada, they are in Latin America, they are in Africa too. That's what they spent practically to go and buy Newcrest in Australia. You understand? So you can imagine the kind of technology and the quality of the skills they will deploy in Ahafo North, Ahafo South, and Achim. So I cannot sit here as Minerals Commission boss and also have an ordinary inspector. That's the argument I want to make. Because your entire receipt is what he used to buy a mine. So you cannot have an ordinary inspector of mines. So it means that Newmont spends millions of dollars to get the state-of-the-art operation in Ahafo. They've developed an underground there. You understand? So an inspector at Minerals Commission, whether for metallurgy, that's the processing plant, whether mechanical, that is for machinery, whether for mining, you understand that, whether for electrical, let me repeat, at worst, should be at par with the mining engineer or mechanical engineer at Newmont. So for us, there's nothing like Yenisika. You understand? And there's one thing I want to say. The government has pumped in a lot of money in Minerals Commission within the last 2 years. We took our budget to Parliament and they just approved it. They just asked us a few questions. You understand? Yes, because we need that kind of money to be able to train people and take them to some of the best. Other than that, Wasa, that will soon have a 2.5 kilometer deep underground mine. I mean, how do you expect a Minerals Commission engineer or electrical engineer to go down there? He will go there and he'll even be confused because he will be seeing things that he has never seen in his life. So you also need to take him to Australia. You need to take him to, South Africa to go and see the deep mines there. You need to let him go to US for further training. You understand that? So for us, there's nothing like mining. And I have to single out my minister for praise and my board because they appreciate this kind of thing. So if I need to take you to Australia, if I need you to take you to US for training, we have to do that. So take Australia, that produces half of the world's lithium. There's an Australian company about to develop lithium. We will also need to take our people to Australia to go and see what is going on there. So that is how far we have come as a regulator. I cannot speak for other sectors, but for me, that is the kind of thing that is turning at its place. The parliamentarians understand it so very well, the Committee on Mines and Energy. They ask, when you go, they ask you, how many engineers have we sent to some of these underground mines in the world to go and learn these new technology? We give them the data, we tell them everything, and they approve it for us. Because when they don't approve your budget, you cannot spend. So that is the situation that we have. Other than that, I think we can, unless you have any other question.
No, we would have to then try and wrap up on our challenges,
yes,
including parts. So there's an issue of delayed payments for services by mining companies. I mean, last week we dealt with the issue of high inflation rate, the exchange rate, interest rate. We dealt with lead time and delivery. And so I want us to look at the delayed payments for services. There are concerns about quality of certain locally produced goods, insufficient supplies for some mining items on the approved list, resulting in price non-competitiveness, and then the poor implementation report, including templates without narrations, information templates not consistent with narration, no breakdowns.
So the last 4.
Yes.
That's a regular meeting we have with the mining companies and then the suppliers. So the suppliers and the service providers have been complaining to us. So in our recent meeting with the chamber, we raised it, that you ask these people to supply the goods. Sometimes they even have to import them because there are items on the list, even though they are not in Ghana. The rule is that give it to a Ghanaian. The companies complain, I say back off. Okay? So the Ghanaian struggles, he will do all these things. Maybe that time the city is 11.5. Why are you going to take 3-4 months to pay them? So they've been complaining to us on the quiet, and sometimes they are scared because it's like they've come to report you. So maybe next time they won't give you the contract. So it's something I've been dealing with. And I tell the companies that, look, they should get these things addressed. Some of them, it's so interesting that they even have to send approval out to get it beyond a certain level, okay, before they get it. So,
are you thinking of enforcing some delay payment penalties or some interest?
It may be strange, but then if I get a report again, then we'll have to find a middle ground and then make a rule and say that, look, once the people supply, don't take more than a week to pay them. Penalties, no, but then we may have to introduce some rules because I also get worried. You see, in one breath, the companies come and complain and say, oh, the Ghanaian has delayed. What we asked him to supply in 2 weeks, he did it in 1 month. Okay? Then they're also saying that I've done the work, 3 months you have not paid me. So I may have to. Because if I give them the chance to import, because the Ghanaian keeps defaulting or delaying, in the same way, you should be able to pay the Ghanaian within a week. So maybe in my new, we do quarterly meetings. I'll just tell them that, look, I may be forced to, I'm yet to receive any complaints for last year. But if I do that, then I may be forced to impose a rule and say that, look, within 1 week after the supply has ended, you should be able to pay the person.
Right. Concerns about quality.
Quality has improved, but still there are concerns. There are concerns, and I get embarrassed. Because then you see, it gives the company the chance to push Minerals Commission to allow them to import. So we've been talking to the...
What's the nature of some of the concerns? Maybe a couple of examples.
You supply a product, they put it in the plant, and then they have issues.
And their standards.
You see, there are standards, but sometimes, Randy, you have a watch seller, it's the finest, you all buy a watch there, but for some reason today, the fish is smelling. So it happens sometimes. I mean, even service provider as a nation, whether it's the power people or the water people. So there are times when, and then the difficulty is that where it is for the plant and things like that, you can really mess them up. They have to maybe shut down and change a whole lot of things. But in terms of quality, they've improved over the period. And we are addressing this thing.
Insufficient
supplies for some mining items on the approved list resulting in price. Yes. So there is, and that's the difficulty I'm having. I would have been having about an 80 list items. Okay. But I don't want to create a monopoly. So if there are two companies who are Ghanaian supplying the thing, maybe I'll just say 30% or 40%. You do 100, those two
don't have the capacity.
Yes, they may not have the capacity, or they may supply 10 mines, and then so.
Are there examples of some of these items?
Yes. We normally see them in our report, so I cannot generalize. So sometimes you see something this year, next year you don't see it again, and so they are there, but you don't see it. The insufficient one is not a complaint for where there are about 10, 50 companies. It tends to be for where there are about 3 or 4 of them. Because you see, if I have 4 companies who can do it very well, I'll protect a certain percentage for them, maybe 30%. You understand that? So they may bring the other 60. Or some of the companies, even though 40% is protected for them, they'll even do 80.
Is there
then the other 20, they'll be complaining.
Is there something that came to mind, and it has to do with the synergies, across ministries, departments, and agencies, because we're dealing with one national policy. So, for example, is there a relationship where if you identify an area like this, you could be able to then inform the sector responsible for that to say, hey, there is an opportunity here, there's a gap. Can you use policy to influence perhaps an upskill there to deal with this issue?
We started the National Supply Development Program. Randy, those things are not a problem, but the cost of production.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. So the manufacturing like this, we are very slow in protecting the area for Ghanaians. So you see someone like Wayo Engineering, okay?
You always use that.
Yes, because he's come far. He started small, and he has contact with practically every company. He does fabrication and all those things. And there are other ones too, like Harlequin and Co. But the question is that B5 Plus is Indian. I think on this Pram Road or whatever, they've been here for ages. Should I get up and say because Wayo is good, Harlequin and all the other 3 or 4 are Ghanaians, they are very good, so no mining company should buy fabricated items from B5 Plus, unless you buy from companies whose shareholders and directors are Ghanaians? It will not be fair. Because in the area of manufacturing, our preoccupation is let the foreign companies come to Ghana and come and do it. You understand?
Shouldn't that be changing?
If there's anything I can do, let's say if there are about 10 Ghanaians doing fabrication, and there are about 2-3 companies that have established here. Because when you do that, then you're asking that the millions of dollars that B5 Plus have sunk in this country, they should leave and sell it. I mean, it's only a fool who will do that. Manufacturing company. Because once they are here, they will pay the taxes, they will do everything. So then you don't have to go and bring those items from Egypt or from Asia or China. So maybe what we can do, or what I'm looking at, but I have to be informed by the data. So I've asked one of the officers to do that. So let's say if you have 10 companies doing fabrication, 2 are foreign, and 8 are Ghanaians. I need to see, can I say that, look, without taking out this company, can I say, okay, when it comes to fabrication materials, give 60% to Ghanaians? Maybe you have to look at that.
Right.
But then if let's say B5 Plus, for example, can do 1 million tons, for the sake of argument, okay, that's their capacity. Why would you say maybe 80% should go to Ghanaian fabrication companies, and then instead of 1 million, he will start doing 800? because your 1 million, the 1 million is his capacity. If you want to protect Ghanaians, that means that he has to now sell only 600,000 tons.
Maybe the other thing for him
that's not fair, because he has because you see, they also look at economies of scale.
Maybe the other thing is that he should also look at opening up for Ghanaian shareholding.
Yes, but Randy, we have done that for underground mining contract and underground drilling services. I'm even happy there's a Ghanaian who can now do underground, 100%. I mean, Westfield. He has a contract in Iduapim and Obuasi. But manufacturing, let's be very careful.
Okay.
The focus should be, they should come here and set up, give us jobs, pay taxes, etc. Because they are here for decades. Yeah. That is it. Right. The other ones you can protect from Ghanaians.
So let's do a final one. Poor implementation reports, including templates without narrations, information in templates not consistent with narration, no breakdowns.
So
I'm sure this is
so let me show you something. Okay. So maybe next week I'll discuss some of the because people are asking me, and I think you also raised it with me. They want to know how they prepare the 5-year procurement plan and what goes into it. So next week I'm not available. I'm out for a program. The other week when we come, we'll focus on how a typical procurement plan looks like, and then how they account for the percentages. But let me just read. This is to answer the last question. So if you look at the last question, and it's in a local content requirement, law and rule that, look, they should provide what do you call it, support to the supplier. So I've just opened that of a company that was sent yesterday. And if you look at it, he has indicated here, as part of his report, technical support, other support. So he's, for example, I'll read it, but I don't need to mention the company's name. But I can mention it because these things are public knowledge.
You can leave out.
Yes. So he says, Company S provides technical and commercial support to local suppliers to assist them in meeting the right specifications. I'm answering your question. Required by the mine suppliers. Suppliers are giving detailed information regarding specifications, including technical drawings and extended clarification that may be required. Where necessary and upon request, suppliers are giving samples of products to assist in the development and identification of products. Then he has indicated all the suppliers, the names of the suppliers, and what he showed them with pictures. Because the last 2-3 years, this particular thing, we keep picking them in our reports or assessment. So we said, in your report for 2023, address this. So this is a typical report. And then it says other support. In addition to above, company has committed to providing procurement opportunities to local suppliers located within its host communities too, with the aim of boosting the local economy within the catchment communities. The following local companies were identified and given the following support. So it means that, so this is the report of a particular company. Okay, I mean, it's Goldfields, Takwa. Okay, they came with a tall schedule, what they did, pictures and everything. So that is it. But it's not 100% yet. So we have to keep, So I'm going to assess all the reports now for 2023 to see the extent to which you dealt with. Because that is a complaint of the suppliers. And we are not able to compete because they didn't show us the drawings. And so now, a typical company like Goldfields, in their report they filed just yesterday, they are telling us that I did this, I did this, I did this. And then they've given us a list of the suppliers.
Have you created a template for them to follow?
Yes.
Okay.
They have all these
all right.
things.
Okay. So CEO.
So, Randy, a lot is happening.
Yeah.
A lot. So, I don't know how, I don't know, maybe before we started this a year ago, I don't know whether I'm going to force you to confess. Perhaps you also had that impression that, they are in some bush somewhere, they pay small royalty, they take everything raw, and then they devastate the environment, and then the regulators even are not too hard on them. You see, that is the ordinary perception. But I don't know, maybe you have to summarize for me how this has changed your focus.
Well, as far as large scale is concerned, I think that
a lot.
Yeah, we're getting.
There's more to the mining we see.
Yeah.
The problem the elephant in that room of Ghana is small scale.
All right. So thanks for joining me, and we'll have our discussion in the next edition. But thank you once again for joining us on the show.